Welcome back to another episode of Magic's in the Mess, the go-to podcast for ambitious women ready to stop pretending, start aligning, and finally build success your way. I'm your host, Danielle McKinley, speaker, business and wealth strategist, and your go-to problem-solving hype girl. Here, we'll help you unlock powerful mindset shifts, discover your magic, and bring your dream life into reality. Each week, I'll deliver raw stories, proven business strategies, and powerful transformations with industry leaders to activate the magic in you. So if you're ready to ditch the pressure, the performative BS, and the noise telling you who you should be, hit subscribe and let's make some magic. Welcome back to the Magic in the Mess podcast, where we feature magic makers who are creating awesomeness in anything that they do. Today's guest is Kristen Cantrell. She's one of my business besties, a coffee-loving powerhouse, and the definition of someone who creates what she creates. She's the founder of the Hello Culture, host of Moms in Real Estate podcast, co-creator of Girl Invest in Yourself retreats, a realtor at Real Broker, and a mom and wife with a huge heart for building community. What I love most about Kristen is she doesn't just talk about connection, she lives it. Whether she's leading events, building businesses, or sitting across from you with a latte in hand, she's the same Kristen. Kristen, welcome to Magic in the Mess.
Was the best intro. I feel like I'm gonna cry.
It's true though. That's the thing. Oh,
I know. I'm like, why am I getting teary? I just started my periods. Maybe that's why.
Oh my gosh, same. I have a period set.
We synced in Florida.
We did. So fun fact, Kristen and I, we were just roommates. That's probably why we're emotional.
Yeah.
We're like, we love each other.
We miss each other.
Yeah, we lived together for 2 weeks in Florida. We did a mastermind and then a family vacay. And when you can find somebody that you can do business with and family with, like turn it off, unplug, and have fun, it is truly a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And that Kristen and I reconnected about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, how did I do life without her before?
I know.
That's how
seriously. I feel like that too.
Yeah. So I'm super excited to have you here because not only are you a master of community building and connection, you truly see the best in people and bring it out in all that you do. And you weather storms like no one I have ever seen before.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the magic is. That's where your character is built.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about this last year.
Yeah.
Let's start from where you transitioned. So talk about the transition from EXP to Real.
Yeah, it's crazy because we're sitting here in April and I literally did that transition in May. So it's almost a year, which just to think how much has happened in a year is crazy. So I had built a nationwide real estate organization at EXP Realty. And last year at this time, I had 250 agents nationwide. And Real was brought to my attention, which is a similar brokerage, but just different in so many different ways that I was attracted to. Mostly like the work hard, be kind, and the leadership and just like the overall messaging that was kind of portrayed when I looked at it was so different than what I was used to. And I just knew it was a better fit for me and what I was building and for all of my agents. And what was hard was sometimes when you leave one place and go to another, not everybody perceives that in the best way that you're leaving. And so it was really, really hard. There was a lot of like tears and relationships lost and just a lot of questioning myself of like, is this the right move? Today, looking back, like, hell yeah, it was the best move ever. I'm like so grateful for it.
Well, because, okay, when you go through big changes like that, a lot of people talk about the outcome and like, okay, yay, hell yeah, that was the right yes. But in the thick of it, you're like, I don't know if this is the right decision. And like, I can remember going on our walk and talks and you initially starting to talk about like, I don't know if this is going to work anymore. Walk through with us like the mental gymnastics that it takes to make a big decision. Like, because you completely, so for those of you who don't know, moving brokerages in the real estate industry is not a small task.
Yeah.
It is a big, big deal. It's like creating a new company, essentially. So walk us through like, how did you mentally prepare for that? And maybe you didn't. What was your mental state like?
My mental state was a hot mess because it was for me, like, regardless of like if people followed or if they decided to stay, that wasn't really like the thing that was mentally most challenging. It was more about my mentors that I was leaving and how they were going to handle it.
Sure.
And how just kind of like preparing myself, like what's the best way to go about this. And I thought I had put together the best way that I could. I still stand by the way that I did it.
Yeah.
But it was not good enough. And it just came with a lot of like hurtful words that it made me question everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just was this constant like, is this the right move? Is it not? And I think like our walk and talks, and I always say like with community, you've got to
Yeah.
have like multiple people to call in every area of your life, regardless if it's your health, if it's your business, if it's your parenting, your relationship with your husband. And what's really nice is like our walks, like you're somebody I can call in all those areas, but in specifically like we have our business walks, and just being able to like talk through it with
Yeah.
somebody else who can understand and can like pull you through it is the most important thing when you're going through like a hard time in the messy middle. And so that was important to me.
Well, and you're so good about one of the things I admire about you is like I said, you who you are online is who you are in person.
Yeah.
And you are a master at building a community. And not everybody is comfortable walking into a room, introducing themselves and
Hmm.
building a connection, following up, asking for a coffee date. So, like, what have you always been like that?
Yeah, I feel like
Okay.
that. I'm
It's
always like, it's
natural.
crazy when it's not easy to somebody to me. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, you should just be friends with everybody. So I don't know. I feel like I don't care if somebody says no if I invite them to coffee. I'm like, okay, there's plenty of people, you know?
That
And
will say
so
yes.
I think I always just, whenever I find a good person, I kind of cling to it. I'm like, oh, I love this. And people, a lot of times people tell me, I just had someone tell me today, like, they keep their circle small. And I'm like, I've never understood that. I'm always like, I am like a more the merrier. Like, if
Yeah.
anytime I have something, my husband even says it all the time. He's like, yeah, like invite them, invite them. And I'm like, everyone's invited. And so I just feel like when you find good people, just like bring them in and like, I don't know. So I feel like I'm
Nurture it.
constantly just trying to find them.
Yeah. What advice would you give for somebody who is intimidated, knows they need community,
Yeah.
knows they need to build that circle of trust of the people they can phone a friend on when they're going through whatever life is throwing at them? What advice would you give them for finding and building that?
Yeah, so I like to compare it to like the gym. If you want like good biceps, what are you going to do? You're going to go to the gym all the time and you're going to do bicep curls or hammer curls or whatever. So and it's not fun at first, but like you're literally creating that habit to get the results. So if you're wanting to build community and have friendships, you can't just sit down and not do anything. You're going to have to be uncomfortable and go introduce yourself to people. And after that, you're going to have a follow up. And like, just like any relationship in your life, it's going to take work and it's going
Yeah.
to take nurturing.
Well, and I think that sometimes people sit back and wait for the invitation.
Oh my gosh, so many.
And you have to like you never know one yes could change. So like even us, let's use our example.
Yeah.
So you reached out to me a year ago in
Yeah.
April. I had moved back and you're like, "Oh my gosh, you're here, like let's get coffee."
Yeah.
And since then I have spoken at your events.
Yeah.
We've done a mastermind together. Our families hang out. We
Hmm.
discovered randomly that we have a cabin down the street from each
Oh, the
other.
best discovery.
And if I would have said no to that,
Yeah. Can you believe
I would have missed out
how sad?
on all of those things. But
Yeah.
I think it's also, and maybe you can speak to this a little bit and from what you've seen in
Hmm.
community, is that once the ask happens, you also need to be the inviter. You can't
Yeah.
always be the one like taking the invitation.
I can't tell you how many people like they yes, like they literally will get invited everywhere, but they never invite. And I actually had a situation recently where I had a retreat like a year and a half ago, and all the girls that went to the retreat that live here, like they get together quarterly. And I wrote one of my friends, I was like, why am I never invited to your quarterly stuff? And
Aw.
they're like, oh my gosh, we didn't think you'd want to come. I'm like, sometimes like when I'm always the
Yeah.
inviter, like I want to be invited too,
Yeah.
And so it was funny. I actually just talked crap to them and I went to lunch with them and it's all good. But I'm like, I think a lot of people just don't invite. And it's like, it's right. If you, instead of being jealous, if you see people together and you're like, why didn't I get invited to that? For one, just insert yourself and be like, hey, like, why wasn't I invited? Like, I want to come.
Yeah.
Or maybe invite the person that's not inviting you to go do something because sometimes
Hmm.
like they need that.
Yeah. Well, And like you said, you want to be invited, and it's
Yeah.
okay. I think sometimes with social media, we're like, oh, I'm not being included, or
Yeah.
you kind of go back to like 7th grade when girls were
Totally.
mean, and you like that story is still living in your subconscious, and so
Yeah.
you're like, that's what's happening here. They don't want me there,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't even realize that you want to be there, that you want to sit at
Totally.
the table. So don't be afraid to go and say, hey, I want to do that next time. Can you
Yeah.
include me? Like someone starting pickleball, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And
Say you
say,
want to
hey, can
go.
I come? Just say,
Yes.
can I come? I think too.
I even did that with a group of moms at my kids' school. Like they all went to a baseball game and I was like, dude, why wasn't I invited? Like I literally don't care if they're
Yeah.
like, we didn't want you there. But they did want me there. And like we had a good
Yeah.
conversation, but like to sit and feel that and not have a conversation around it, I feel like it's bad for my body. So I feel like I need to get it out and to be able to like talk through it, you know?
Yeah. Well, and okay, so let's talk about, because you're so good at building community, and you're really good at building a space that you want, that you don't see, and you're like,
Yeah.
I'll just go build it.
Uh-huh.
And that really was born through real estate
Yeah.
and creating Moms in Real Estate, your
Yeah.
podcast. And then walk us through sort of the evolution of that.
So, a decade ago, I was hired to be a real estate recruiter, and I was taught call this list of real estate agents and use this script. And I was like, oh,
Who
this
has the
is
ick? Who
terrible.
has the ick?
And I did it, and I did it for like probably a couple months, and I just like hated it. And I had a newborn at the time and a 1-year-old. I think that's where they were at. And um, basically, I was like, how can I get in front of people that I actually want to get around? And so had this idea where I wanted to create this mastermind called Moms in Real Estate. And we would get together every month, and I'd be around other moms. And if they wanted to move brokerages, great. If they didn't, I was in relationship with people in my industry. And the owners of the brokerage that I worked for were like, we actually think you need to think bigger and you can be a host of a podcast. And so that's how the podcast was born.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally feel like I've met some of the most amazing business partners and friends through that podcast. And literally, they either have moved brokerages, come to my retreats, they lead my Hello Culture chapters.
Yeah.
It's just been this like really great door opener. And it was this light bulb moment when that happened, 10 years ago, where it was like, oh, I'm in charge of bringing the people that I want. And I need to figure out what that either a podcast or what that community looks like.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And because from there, you've taken it like totally next level, and really just in the last year that you've blown up your communities. And one of the things I always say is that success loves speed.
Yeah.
And you are totally somebody that's like, I'm just going to take action. I'm going to put the thing out there, and then I'm going to build it as I go.
Yeah.
And it's going to be fine. And it has been. You've shown and proven that method totally works for you. So talk a little bit about like the Hello Culture.
Yeah.
And franchising.
Yeah. So I started, it was Connect and Cultivate 5 years ago when I started it. And it was actually like me just trying to figure out like what it looked like when I had moved to eXp Realty. And you have to have a value proposition to attract real estate agents, and especially in that company. And so I came up with the concept of building a community to attract real estate agents and branded it. I did that for 5 years. A lot of things happened along the way to where I pivoted, and it wasn't just for real estate, because I had people at other brokerages that wanted to be a part of it that did not want to go to EXP. I had people, like a mom at the school who was a massage therapist was like, oh, I really wish that there was a you in my community. And I'm like, well, why couldn't it be? Like, we're all entrepreneurs. So I just pivoted and created a membership-based model for female entrepreneurs. And then last year in February, I had a friend, well, actually, sorry, this is November. I had a friend who was like, hey, let me take your brand into Nevada. And I was like, what does that mean? I'm like, tell me what you would want. So we built out what I call my business in a box in my chapter leader program.
Because that's literally from an ask. So
Both things.
imagine if that ask didn't happen.
I would have never known.
And how important it is that even if you see something that someone else is doing, this is what you're so good at, is collaboration.
Yeah.
It's okay to be like, hey, or you see somebody not thinking big enough.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, let's zoom out on this, and what can it look like? Okay, so keep going, because they asked, and
so
then
she asked, and I built it out, and she's like, yeah, that's what I would want. And so I launched it in February, and then I grew
of last year, 2024.
Yeah, and I grew to 24 chapters around the United States. Right now we're at 20, which I think is really good. Like we've had a couple people that have decided they don't want to do
Can you
it.
guys hear her? She just said, "Oh, we have 20." And I think that's really good. Kristen, that is really freaking good.
Yeah, it's
That's
pretty
insane.
cool.
I don't know, I don't study franchises much, but I would imagine if I turned on my research, which I love to do,
Yeah.
that I wouldn't find one that expanded 20 locations in their first year just off the cuff.
Yeah, it is pretty cool when you say it like that.
That's a huge like magic moment that we need to celebrate. That's
Yeah.
insane. And let's talk about, because I just saw you made a post about Hello Culture,
Oh, yeah.
and you were asking for more community leaders here in Arizona.
Yes.
And what happened from that one ask?
Yeah, that one ask was like I had so many leads from it for people that want to start communities all over in Arizona because I focused on growing nationwide. And the other day I was like, wait, like Arizona could be so much better than it is right now. And I was like, I'm just going to be like super specific. And it just kind of, I have all these appointments with all these girls that are like, oh my God, I can do that in Arizona. And what's cool about Arizona is that's like where I've built my reputation. So it's a really, really great franchise for them because they can piggyback off of like I've done events in Scottsdale and Phoenix and Queen Creek and all
Yeah.
these different areas. So like the reputation's there. And
Mhm.
so I'm excited. I'm like, oh, we're gonna blow up in Arizona.
And you will.
Yeah.
But I want to, because you are super humble,
Hmm.
and what I think attributes a lot to your success, because I've been lucky enough to stand by your side and watch it unfold over this last year, is your authenticity and your edit. So like, because you're authentic and you show up the way that you in your realness, and you do what you say you're going to do, people trust you.
Yeah.
And so let's talk a little bit about the importance and power of reputation and character, and not putting on a show online,
Yeah.
and really being who you are.
Yeah, I think that served me really well. I get told a lot that I'm relatable, and I'm like, that's the biggest compliment because
Mhm.
I don't want to act like I have anything together that I don't. So, and that was like my biggest thing for my podcast too. Like when someone comes on, I'm like, don't tell me your life's perfect. Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
hear it. Let's talk about the shit show because we're all a shit show. And
Uh-huh.
so I just feel like with people that come in and they come into my communities, it's like, they crave that because so many people like have this perfect persona and it's just hard to be around. But I really do think too, I actually read this, I forget where I was reading like some kind of article, and it was just talking about how much more like your business can succeed when you actually do that. And I'm like, yes,
Mhm.
I'm so glad because I don't know.
I think you do it naturally. I think it's hard for some people because of things like imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
or feeling like they're insecure, not enough, or whatever. But you say, I think that that's paid off for me.
Yeah.
Look at the numbers, don't lie.
Yeah.
When you look at the growth, and it's even you just being you right now,
Yeah.
and being like, yeah, it's great. Like, we're gonna maybe blow up Arizona. Like, you guys, she's gonna have 7 chapters next month in Arizona. That's what's gonna
That'll be
happen.
cool.
And the community piece, there's so much power in
Hmm.
that, like seeing the relationships that the connections you've made, and all of that. Talk a little bit about that piece and how it's impacted, like the stories you've seen, and how it's impacted others, like
Oh,
even
I've
like
seen so
Amber,
much. Wait, which Amber?
George and
Bovard?
Gather.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. Okay, I'll give a specific example about Mandy and Jasmine. So I love bringing people together. Like I feel
Mm-hmm.
like when I'm meeting people, one of the things that I love to do is just listen and then think like, how can I serve them best? And one of the things that I gravitate towards is who am I connecting them with after this conversation? And what's cool is when you have two people come together and then they go build something amazing, you're like, look at how much that just impacted them and me. So I have two friends that met at one of my retreats and they stayed friends, and one launched a photography studio, and a year later the other one, who owns like an online boutique called Bee Queen, opened up her store inside of her photography studio,
Yeah.
and they just launched. And just watching them and their relationship blossom, and now this like co-collaboration in this business that they have together, it's like that is literally what brings me so much joy.
And what I want to pull out from that for the listeners is that you're an expert about not making it about you,
Yeah.
about making it about them.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why you have the trust in the community, I believe, is because of that. You
Yeah.
really lead with, how can I help this person? How can I serve them? And so if you're feeling stuck in your business,
Mm-hmm.
maybe take a step back and ask yourself, am I approaching this the right way? Am I
Yeah.
approaching this just for me and the money that I want to make, or the fame, or the spotlight being on me? And take a step back and go, did I fall away from my mission?
Yeah.
And your why has always been like, you can sit with us.
Yeah,
You
for
can sit
sure.
with us.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a perfect example of it.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's talk, because you're a manifesting generator.
Yeah.
Which means you have tons of energy and tons of ideas, and you're really good at executing all of them. So you do all the things. So how do you manage, you're at Real Brokerage, you
Mm-hmm.
have the Hello Culture, you have a franchise model with a ton of different chapter leaders.
Yeah.
You run a podcast. You're starting another podcast.
I started it this week.
She started another
Yeah.
podcast this week. So she
Mhm.
has 2 podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
and you're a mother of 2 incredible boys.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do it all?
It's super messy, but I feel like I live by my calendar. So as long as I like plan out my weeks, I feel like it goes pretty good. So, I mean, planning the podcast, it's an hour and a half for me to do a month's worth of videos. So like really just putting it in my calendar, planning. And then I have an amazing team now, which I feel like is, literally been such a game changer. So I have a girl that's in charge of all my marketing. I have a girl that's in charge of like overseeing all the details of all the businesses, and just having a director of operations too. So I feel like just having all these girls who really understand my business and having their hands in it.
Yeah.
And so that I don't have to like keep track of everything they are. Like sometimes I'm like, oh,
Sure.
when's our event? How many people are coming? Like I just need to go find the people and create the space, and all the other details somebody else is handling, which is so nice.
Delegating.
Yeah.
So I always say that when you look at successful people, there's 2 things they'll always have in common.
Mm-hmm.
They are masters of delegation, and they deeply understand their strengths.
Yeah.
And they're delegating literally to their areas of weakness. And I think that you've really started doing that this
Yeah,
year.
you say that a lot and it sticks with me. So I feel like it has been this year, which probably because you talk about that all the time.
Well, thank you, but no, it's all you. Okay, so let's talk about, because we all have the messy moments, and you're never shy about sharing them.
Yeah.
What's one big business mistake that you've made that you want to help other entrepreneurs skip that? Like, just skip that chapter.
Yeah.
Let's not do that shitty thing.
Okay, so I'll tell you my most recent one was that I went and I built a brand and I franchised it, and the trademarking it was an afterthought. And so I did that right before I franchised. Like I knew I was franchising it, so I went to trademark it and it got approved with the USPTO, and I was like, good, we're good to go. And a year later, when it was actually like approved to get published, I had a big company come after me with a cease and desist. And so that process, like when it first happened, it felt like extremely, like I was very upset about it. Like it was like, oh my gosh, my brand's going away. And like, I didn't think my local community they could care less what we're called. But the fact that I had 24 girls like with this name and invested in this business, I was like, shit, I really jacked up, And it was just like, I really like sulked in it, I felt like. And then I feel like once I was like, okay, we're rebranding and we did that, I'm on the other side of it, like super recent, to where like we just did all of our rebranding. We went through all of where Connect and Cultivate was everywhere. Okay. So that was like so much work. But now that I'm on the other side of it, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy with my new brand, and I'm so glad that happened. And that's usually always what happens when I'm in the middle of something that seems like, oh my gosh, this is the end of the world.
Yeah.
I feel like every time it's over and I look back, I'm like, God, that needed to happen. And I always remember, like in the Bible, it says like to try to find the joy in the pain. And I'm like, I always like tell myself in the middle of like the crap, I'm like, okay, that's like what the Bible says. Like this is happening for a reason.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I'm on the other side and happy.
Okay, so the message here, friends:
trademark your business.
Trademark your shit.
Yeah. Well, and I always say like everything big starts small. And I remember in the beginning, like trademarking cost a couple $1,000s. And like when you're new in business, like that on top of a couple $1,000s for branding and a couple $1,000s for everything, you guys. So it's like, oh, that can just wait. And so now I tell everyone, like, no, go get
Do
a
that first.
trademark. Yeah.
Well, so for those of you that don't know, what if you own the Instagram handle, if you have the website, that doesn't mean you own that name. If
Yeah.
somebody else has it trademarked, they can literally take that away from you in
Even
a
if they don't
moment's
have that
notice.
exact name.
Yeah, even if they don't have that exact name, sometimes it depends on the classes and all of that. So if
Yeah.
you have a coaching business, a digital product, if you're starting a personal brand with a slogan, even a podcast, a book, you want to have those things trademarked
Yeah.
because you don't want to put in all of that work and then it be taken away from you. Luckily, you were able to pivot, which you
Yeah.
are a master of,
Yeah.
and does it with so much grace. And I think that what I've learned from you in it is attitude is everything.
Yeah.
The way that it's okay to have a minute and vent it out and have a good cry. But then you got to go like, okay, what is this? There's usually always a message.
Yeah.
And if you really look at the history of your life, you'll, on those hard times, if you look back at them, you'll go, oh my gosh, that's why. Like you
Yeah.
usually aren't going to get that's why this is happening during
Mhm.
the shitty thing. But if you can anchor into the fact that I know one day
Yeah.
I'm going to see what the really silver lining, the beautiful mess, the magic that's
Mhm.
going to come from this, it'll help you get through those times faster,
So true.
with less stress,
Yeah.
with less heartache. And it's easier said than done,
Mhm.
right? But I feel like that's you just were like a powerhouse. Like you didn't skip a beat. And
Yeah.
I know that it was hard for you
Yeah, it was really hard.
because I'm close to you. But
Yeah.
you, like, I want you to know that it is so inspiring
Thanks.
the way that you handled all of that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
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 What a wild ride.
And you can laugh about it now.
I can.
And you
for
can help
sure.
other people skip the line.
Yeah, you should see, like, any of my friends that have like a big brand, I am like, did you trademark that? And most of them say no.
Yeah.
I was
Oh,
just
I'm
with my
thinking
neighbor
about
today,
it.
and she has a really big brand, and she thankfully talked to Madison, who's our trademark attorney, and she is getting her trademarks. And I was like, I can't believe you don't have that name trade. Now I'm like, I can't believe you.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens though, and that's the power of it. Because
Mhm.
if you didn't have that story, she would probably just carry on,
Yeah.
building, and pray that nobody takes the name someday.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to pivot.
Okay.
And I want to move into retreats because
Okay.
in the entrepreneurial space, I hear a lot of people being like, oh, I want to host a mastermind. I want to
Yeah.
do an event. I wanted
Mhm.
this. I wanted that. And you've done tons of them.
Yeah.
You've done retreats. You've done big events. You've
Mhm.
done you do a ton of workshop stuff within your community.
Yeah.
What are some tips and things you could share
Mm.
about like why you should decide to do one of those things
Yeah.
if it makes sense? And then if it does make sense, like how to go about it?
Yeah, so I think that I love events. Like, I love them so much. I'm more drawn to micro events. And I think that my advice, if you're thinking about doing it, ask yourself why.
Yeah.
Why would you do this event? Is it something that you're wanting to generate money? Are you wanting to expand your network? Are you wanting to get your name out there? Are you wanting content? There's so many different things that you could want. But if you're going to do it, I think that embracing when you first start out in events, that knowing that again everything big can start small, and that's okay. So don't beat yourself up if you're like, oh my gosh, I wanted to do this event and it was for 50 people and I only had 20 people sign up. Like, that's part of the process. And so I think that just like knowing that in the beginning and accepting it and embracing the suck while it's going is like totally okay. So I would say that. And I would say the hardest part of an event is getting butts in the seats. So do not just post on Facebook or on Instagram and be like, everyone's going to sign up. No, because I will tell you, even to this day, like, I was just at lunch with a bunch of people and I was like talking about an event and they're like, I haven't even seen that event. I'm like, I have posted about it like 50 times. How the heck have you not seen it? But just like I don't see everyone's stuff.
Yeah.
And so remembering that, so you have to cover yourself on social media, on email marketing, and then you better be personally inviting people. So that is a huge thing. I've been doing that for 10 years where I literally will be like, who's this event good for and who can I share it with? And I think people get embarrassed to do that. But again, who cares? If they don't respond, you're
Yeah.
not even going to know because you've messaged so many people and invited
Well,
them.
and the answer's just no if you don't ask anyway. So
Yeah.
what's the harm in having the ask?
And I think that being on the other side of it and being the host of so many events, I can't tell you how many people have come up to me and been like, I am so glad that you messaged me to come here because I wouldn't have. And like this completely impacted me. So anytime I'm like, oh, I have to like message somebody about this, like I have those people in my head. I have text messages saved that say that. And you really are like impacting people when you can create a good room for them to come into.
Well, and people want to feel included. People want to be, it feels good to get an invite.
I love,
it feels really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to the whole way that you approach everything that you do, which is not about you.
Yeah.
It's about who are you serving
Yeah.
and how can you do it. Okay. So I love that. And I think anchor in your why.
Yeah.
And then freaking go for the invites. Like
Yes.
ask people to attend. Don't just pray and post.
Yeah. Do not pray and post.
Okay. Another thing that I've been hearing about a lot in the community is everybody wants a podcast.
Yeah. Do they?
Okay.
I feel like I'm not seeing I wish
everybody.
everyone did.
Oh, I need to start a podcast. I've been wanting to start a podcast. You've had a podcast over a decade.
Yeah.
And just started another one last week. What tips would you have for someone who's wanting to do that?
I would definitely get a media company to help you. I did it for probably 6 years without one. Like we would go in and it was such a hot mess. But just do it. Like literally, it's so easy and you're just having like conversations and providing value. I think that people get so caught up in the technical part of it that if you can just realize like people can do that for you and it's a great investment, you just focus on like bringing value to who your audience is and just start doing it. It will be great. And the consistency factor, like please, for the love of God, if you're going to start a podcast, like have a plan and stick to it. Like you will know that my podcast is every single Thursday. It gets dropped.
I do.
And doing this new podcast, I'm doing it with a guy who's super squirrely, and I'm like, hey, we're gonna do this every single month. We're doing 4 episodes, okay? And he's on board, and like so. But I feel like the consistency aspect is huge because I feel like people when they don't see you consistently showing up, like I don't know, it affects it. I feel like.
Well, and it's how can they trust you then?
Yeah.
It goes into your trust factor.
Yeah.
If you're not showing up for yourself, how are you going to show up for others?
Yes.
Right? Okay. So many good things. We went so many ways, but that's my favorite part. Is there a pivotal moment either in your life, not necessarily to do with work, that was really hard for you to navigate, but like is still something you think about today or that you go back to that's really made you into the wonderful woman that you are today?
Ooh, that is a good question. I'm trying to think of like a moment that changed me. I'll tell you I will tell you a moment. And it is actually work related. I'm sure there's a lot of personal ones too, but I feel like the one that just popped in my head, I'm going to go with.
Go with it.
So there was this girl, and I feel like she's going to think I'm weird because I feel like I tell this story often, and I've never met her. So I'm a big advocate in investing in rooms. So obviously I put them on, but I also go to them. And so when I first joined like a nationwide virtual cloud-based brokerage and had to build this organization, I invested in the company's events. And I was sitting with 5,000 people at this event. And I was listening to this girl out of Texas. Her name's Chauncey Pham. And she was giving her presentation about how she expanded her network. And it was about building communities. And I had always built communities, but I had never like pointed what I was doing. Everything was like really just like willy-nilly.
Come sit with us.
Yeah, it was literally just like no process,
Everyone's
no
invited.
procedure. It was just crazy. And so I was listening to her describe her community and how intentional it was. And it was just this light bulb moment for me that I was like, that's what I have to do. I have to have like a branded community and like do it. And it was just such a great moment for me to understand like I knew my strengths, but I never knew how to monetize them and I never knew how to be intentional with them. And so I just feel like that moment was like a really big one for me.
And what a great reminder to put yourself in the rooms.
Yeah.
Especially if you're feeling stuck in your business or feeling like, hey, I'm not applying my strengths that I know I'm really good at in the way that I know could mean the most. I can just take one thing and that download comes and Hello Culture is born.
Well, we just had a room in Florida with some amazing people, and I thought it was so cool because we had helped basically like birth Whitney's baby, which is like the CMO and co. And we were just talking about something that keeps like, she keeps having people ask her to do something, and she's like, I want to talk about like, is this my next business venture? And we get home, and 2 weeks later, she's trademarked and launched a business, and she's already got clients. And it's so cool because like that's so powerful for you at any stage in your business. So don't feel like you've made it. You've never made it. Like,
never made
you
it.
still have to go into the rooms. And so I think like as somebody that's new, seasoned, and somebody that's super successful, like constantly making sure like in 2025, like what rooms am I investing in?
Yeah.
And find the ones that you should be in.
I love it. And the power of two brains are always better than one. So having those people you can bounce off of. Okay. Yeah. This was so good. I want to end on a high.
Okay.
And I feel like as entrepreneurs, we do not celebrate ourselves enough. Okay. So I ask every single guest, what is a magic moment that happened to you this week that we can all celebrate with you?
This week? Honestly, it was that Facebook post. I was so actually I'm gonna do personal.
Okay.
So I saw a chiropractor that was like so pivotal for my health that I was just feel like I left with so much like hope and so excited. And yeah, I feel like and it's because of you. And we were at an event and literally I was like, I'm just struggling, and I feel like you connected me with the right person who could adjust my stomach, which sounds weird, but what came out of it was more than just like somebody trying to band-aid a problem that I've had forever. He really went in and looked at like root cause stuff and talked to me about so much more than any doctor has ever talked to me, that I was just like, I left so happy. So
yay.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you on that. And tell everyone where they can come find the incredible Kristen Cantrell.
Instagram at Hey Kristen Cantrell.
And give you a big hey, right?
Yeah, for sure. Message me. I would love that. If you listen to this and you message me and told me what you liked about it, I'd be like, make my day.
Okay, that's how you connect with Kristen. Thank you so much, friend. It was a pleasure having you. Continue making magic.